Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Force here with a recap of Day 1's events of E3 2013. I wanted to touch on the two major focal points of today, and that was of course the press conferences for both Microsoft and Sony as they revealed more information about the next generation console. So I think it's pretty clear, I can just come right out and say it, that coming into this event, Microsoft was behind in terms of public perception. You know, with all that information about the required internet connection every 24 hours and the limitation on used game trade-ins and borrowing and essentially taking away consumers' ownership of games in the process, lots of people were very unhappy. Now, I had assumed, it was just most logical to me that Sony would take a similar approach simply due to the pressures behind publishers, but I could not have been more wrong, and frankly, it's for the better of the gaming community, so I'm actually pretty happy about my predictions being incorrect in terms of the stance that Sony would take. Now, I've already done a video today. I actually covered Microsoft's event during the Force feed, so if you'd like some detailed information, go check that out. But just as a quick recap, Microsoft came into E3 saying that this was going to be their focus on games, and in terms of the games they announced, the big major hitters would be Titanfall, the next Halo, Killer Instinct, and Project Spark. I would say those were the titles that the most people had interest in. Personally, I'm pretty excited about Titanfall, but it's also important to note that that is coming to the PC as well. So they said, yes, E3 will be about the games, and I know you guys are upset about the internet connection, and I know you're upset about the used game policy, trade-ins, and borrowing with your friends and all that stuff, or basically the lack of borrowing, but we're going to focus on the games, and you guys are going to love it. Well, after today is concluded, I don't hear lots of people talking about the Xbox One games. In fact, besides Titanfall, which once again is also coming to the PC, and then with the exception, of course, of the next Halo, which will be exclusive to the Xbox One, there's not a lot of talk about the Xbox One. I mean, it doesn't seem like people are very interested in what Microsoft had to reveal today. And one of the most frustrating things for gamers was when they revealed the price point of the Xbox One, which is going to be $499. Now, my assumption was that the Sony PlayStation 4 would be around that price as well, and I could not have been more wrong. So conversely to Microsoft, Sony came into this event with not much pressure at all. In fact, they revealed the PlayStation 4, really focusing on the hardware specs and things like internet streaming and all of the technical aspects of the Sony PlayStation, and also touching on the games as well. But one of the great advantages they had is that behind all the commotion of the Xbox One, they came out and said, you know, before E3, they're like, look guys, the Sony PlayStation 4, it will be focused on games. We're going to hone in and make sure that this is first and foremost a great gaming experience. So again, contrary to Microsoft, Sony came in here with relatively good public opinion, and they've also done a great job of trying to build relationships with independent developers and saying, hey, this is, if you're an indie developer, this will be the console for you. We're going to cut back on the limitations and make it easy for you to publish your games on the Sony PlayStation 4. And yeah, it's just been good public opinion. And again, I assumed that the PlayStation 4 would have similar requirements in terms of internet connection and limitations on used games and borrowing, and they did the exact opposite. They came out and explicitly said there will be no used game restrictions and no DRM, no always online connection. You won't need to check in every 24 hours, every 1 hour, every 30 minutes, not at all, in order to play your games. Now, there was a negative to their conference, or at least a black mark, if you will, amongst all of the excitement behind what they had said and the fact that there's no used game restrictions or always online DRM. And that was the fact that it does now require PlayStation Plus in order for you to play multiplayer, which was not required in the past. But yes, you're going to have to go through Sony's paid subscription service, PS Plus, in order to actually play your multiplayer games. But besides that, I mean, no used game restrictions and no DRM. That's fantastic. And then they knocked it out of the park when they came out and announced that the PlayStation 4 will be priced at $399. Now, keep in mind, this is the US pricing, but that is a full $100 less than the Xbox One. Although, before we jump on the bandwagon, let's keep in mind that there is could potentially be additional pricing available. That could just be the smallest package or maybe the base package. And there may also be a $499 or $599 package for the PlayStation 4 as well. But I gotta say, I gotta hand it to Sony. They nailed this and just hit this one out of the park in terms of taking it to Microsoft. And they hit their stride. They got the right message sent at the right time. In fact, they even released this comical video concerning trading games and letting your friends borrow your games as a direct jab to Microsoft. It was quite funny. So let's quickly go through this again one by one. The Xbox One will require an internet connection every 24 hours. The PlayStation 4 will not. The Xbox One has limitations on your used games requiring you to trade in at select retailers. The PlayStation 4 does not. The Xbox One doesn't allow borrowing. Only once on a single game you can do a borrow to your friend, and they have to have been on your friends list for a full 30 days. The PlayStation 4 does not have the requirement either. And then finally, the pricing. The Xbox One coming in at $499 here in the US, the PlayStation 4 at $399. I think if you take a look at that list, it goes without saying that the PlayStation 4 is the clear winner here in this battle. However, there's one major thing that really isn't thrown into the equation quite yet, and I don't think it will be until the release of these consoles, and that's when it comes to the exclusives. Now, we've got some ideas of a few exclusives for both these consoles, but these are really just some of the launch titles or some of the titles coming out within the year after launch. What's really going to push these systems the most are the games, and I mean, let's not forget the fact that Microsoft and the Xbox, they've got some really, really popular exclusives on their console that will, of course, carry into the next generation, that will sell the device, even if it is priced a little bit higher than the PlayStation 4. But right now, public opinion, and frankly, my opinion as well, is that the PlayStation 4 is going to be the system to get. But just once again, to play devil's advocate, let us not forget that Microsoft could come out and reveal a price package below the $499 price point, and Sony and the PlayStation 4 could come out and announce price points higher for higher packages, larger hard drives, things of that nature. But at this point, in terms of the E3 battle, it's safe to say that Sony has come out victorious, and just quite clear victor, not even relatively close between the two. Whether or not that's going to change come this holiday season, once people actually, it comes to time to purchase these consoles, well, that has yet to be determined. But for now, the PlayStation 4 is the winner. I'd like to know what you guys think in the comment section below, though. Please let me know about your feelings on today's events and the battle between Xbox One and PlayStation 4 for the king of the next generation console. Thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, this has been Force. If you like the content, please subscribe, keep watching, and keep owning.